Good morning. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. I'm Barry Bryson, and we're continuing our study of the Gospel of Mark. And we're going to begin with chapter 3, verse 7 today, and we're going to read through verse 19. We really have two vignettes from the life of Jesus. The first, 7 through 12, really just gives us a picture of what a day in the life is like. And it's the kind of detail that we don't get in the other Gospels. You know, Mark takes the time in this very fast-paced and very brief gospel to include so much detail so that we can really imagine what the ministry of Jesus would have been like. And then in verses 13 through 19, he calls his apostles. So let me read these verses. And Jesus withdrew to the sea with his disciples, and a great multitude from Galilee followed him, and also from Judea, and from Jerusalem, and from Idumea, and beyond the Jordan, and the vicinity of Tyre and Sidon. And a great multitude heard of all that he was doing, and came to him. And he told his disciples that a boat should stand ready for him because of the multitude, in order that they might not crowd him. For he had healed many, with the result that all of those who had afflictions passed about him in order to touch him. And whenever the unclean spirits beheld him, they would fall down before him, crying out, saying, "You are the Son of God." And he earnestly warned them not to reveal his identity. Jairus always said that in India, if you're walking, you're a parade, and if you're standing still, you're a crowd. And that must have exactly been what Jesus' ministry was like. People are coming from all over Palestine. Tyre and Sidon, that's Lebanon. That's Lebanon. They're coming from the entirety of Palestine, from Dan to Beersheba, to borrow an Old Testament phrase, and from the Transjordan, what is present-day Jordan, the country of Jordan, from the east side of the Jordan River. They're coming from everywhere, and they're pressing in on him. He's walking along the sea so he can have space for the people to be there, not in the crowded streets of Capernaum. When they get to be too thick, he has a boat ready so that he can push off from the shore and teach. We're told this in all the Gospels, and teach the people. And people are there just wanting to get a touch of him so that they can be healed. We're going to read someone doing just that later on in chapter 4 and or chapter 5, excuse me. And when evil spirits were there, and we talked about the identity of and the taxonomy of evil spirits earlier. I'm not going to repeat that, but they were always identifying Jesus as the Son of God, even though he always called himself the Son of Man, and he was not permitting them. He would not accept their testimony and shushing them. Of course, everybody else heard anyway, and that would add to the effect of all that was happening. I mean, we can see how just with the natural a gravity of a snowball rolling down a hill, that an enormous movement is being created with Jesus, by Jesus just being Jesus. And he does something that we read that he does a lot, which he goes up into the mountain, and so that he can be by himself or be by a small group, be with a small group. And we're told in the other synoptists, by the other synoptists, that Jesus was praying the night, and then he called out the 12. 12 is a significant number. It's so significant that once one is gone, they replace him in Acts chapter 1. Although there will be more people called apostles. Paul and Barnabas are both called apostles in the book of Acts. The word apostle means to be sent on a mission, or to have a commission, to be sent with a commission, to be an official emissary with a job to do. That's what an apostle is. And he's going to send these guys out 2 by 2 in short order after he calls them. And he has some time with them to prepare them for their first missionary group. And then we have the names of this group, and the names are consistent throughout the Synoptic Gospels. He calls to them that they might be with him. They're going to have access that no one else has, something that Peter and John both allude to, and that he might send them out to preach. So he's preparing these guys to be missionaries, to be preachers. and to have authority and to cast out demons. No one else is going to share with them the power that he has. Although we're going to meet one in the Gospels who seems to be exercising gifts that, and he's not one of the apostles. And Jesus gives us an answer. Jesus' answer is clear, but who the identity of this person is not. But anyway, we won't talk about that till we get to it. Anyway, he calls the 12. There were 12 patriarchs, of course, and 12 tribes. He calls the 12, and they begin with Simon, whom he named Peter, and it's Peter and Andrew, James, and John. Although Andrew is mentioned fourth after James and John, it makes you feel bad for Andrew. Because Peter, James, and John are the three among the 12 that are closest to him and that go places even the other 12 don't go, like into the Garden of Gethsemane, into the raising of Jairus' daughter, and up on the Mount of Transfiguration. And we have these four brothers who are in business as fishermen together, Peter, Andrew, James, and John. Andrew's the little brother of Peter, evidently, because he's mentioned second. John is the little brother of James. And so Andrew must have dealt with the feelings of being left out. It was Peter, Andrew, James, and John, and then all of a sudden it was Peter, James, and John. But Andrew's never that way. He's such a wonderful biblical example. Peter, Andrew, James, and John. Andrew and Philip, were they fishermen too? We meet Philip and Bartholomew together. They're always mentioned together. Philip and Bartholomew. Is Bartholomew the Nathaniel that we meet in John the 2nd chapter? Philip and Andrew are the first two disciples Jesus ever had. John the Baptist, they were followers of John the Baptist. John the Baptist said, "Behold the Lamb." They followed Jesus. They said, "Where are you staying?" And Jesus said, "Come and see." And they spent the day with him. And they went out and told others about Jesus. So there's a sense in which Andrew and Philip really have primacy in being the first two to follow Jesus. Matthew we've met. Thomas, we know him a lot better later, and especially through John's Gospel. James, the son of Alphaeus. In other places he's called James the short guy. Thaddeus, Simon the Canaanian, or Simon the Zealot, Canaanian zealot. A zealot meaning he's part of this ultra activist, ultra Zionist, ultra nationalist group that split off from the Pharisees. And so we have him. And then that's interesting that we have Matthew, who is this tax collector, this private contractor with the Roman government, and Simon, who is basically an embryo terrorist, and they both have become disciples, apostles of Jesus. And then Judas Iscariot, who betrayed him. Just a word about Judas before we close today. No one knows what Iscariot means. It could mean Ish Karioth, man from Kerioth, which might make him the only non-Galilean of this group. Or it could mean Ish Sicarii, a man of the dagger, a Sicarii man, an assassin. We've talked about the Sicarii already. And so not only would we have a zealot, but we'd have a terrorist. We wouldn't just have, someone who's an Irish nationalist, but we'd have a member of Sinn Féin as well, numbered among Jesus' apostles. It's an interesting group, and we'll come to know many of them better as we read on. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes. Next time we'll pick up with verse 20 of chapter 3. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've got one more to do. Okay. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think that's all I'm going to do today. I'm going to do 7. No, I'll do 8. I'll do this one.